Hey guys, how's it going? Kripparrian here. Today I want to give you guys a bit of an update on what's going on with drafting in Arena and the kind of cards you should be playing around in Arena, because this aspect of Arena has changed in a very big way in the last week or so, with no announcement, with no hotfix that we're aware of, with basically nothing. And this seems like it might just be the norm. From time to time, with no notice, Arena might change, substantially overnight. And basically what happened is we had a system in Arena that I think was one of the better ones, and then we had the Arena event. We had the Taverns of Time, and understandably, Arena is going to be different with the Taverns of Time event. But what basically none of us expected is when Arena came back to what was normal, we assumed it would be just like it was before the event. That is not the case. There have been substantial changes in the bucket systems, in the offering rates, and it has led to, in my opinion, a completely different version of Arena, one that I'd like to call the way too much removal Blizzard experiment Arena. And it's kind of frustrating that this is the system that's backing all of this, but at the same time, I think this could easily be changed into a positive situation if Blizzard would be more upfront that these changes are happening, first of all, and second of all, I don't know how they would do it exactly, but I think there should be some kind of message about the cards under whatever given rule set that we can expect to play against, because that's really important to, well, everything when you play Arena. The stats I want to show you guys are from a Hearthstone replay, so it just basically polls people and the cards that they see play, they basically write them down, and they have very elaborate statistics for basically everything. But in terms of Arena, they do a really good job. So this is the list of the most commonly seen Druid cards. So number one is Starfall. Starfall is in 63.8% of decks. That's the second column there. And the third column is the average number of Starfalls when it is in the deck. So 63.8% of the time, a Druid will have 1.4 Starfalls. That's what that means. And on average, that basically means that every Druid has a Starfall. That means that every Druid has a Spreading Plague. And then we have, a bit less than every Druid having Swipe, Starfire, Nourish, Wrath. So, basically get the idea here about what people are playing. Spreading Plague is new for near the top cards. This is a card that they've chosen to boost tremendously in this version of Arena. So it is very important that you always play around Spreading Plague when you're up against a Druid. Always play around Spreading Plague. You don't have to play massively around it, but you have to have it at the back of your mind that just about every Druid you're going to play, especially when you get north of, 4 or 5 wins, is going to Spreading Plague you at some point throughout that game. So as a result, manage your board state and don't overload it with small minions unless you absolutely have to, or if you're trying to seal out the game. There also is another consideration. We have Savage Roar near the bottom, so Druid's Burst might be a bit more spontaneous, and more importantly than even that, we do not have Ultimate Infestation on the Druid list. So if you are drafting a Druid deck of your own, card draw and sustain is now relatively important because you're not going to have one Ultimate Infestation per deck as you used to a month ago. So that's kind of a big deal, I'd say. And then moving on to Mage. Mage has more Blizzards than ever before somehow. 73.4% of decks have 1.6 Blizzards. So basically that means that on average, every Mage deck will have more than one Blizzard. All of them. I'm kind of okay with that. I'm kind of okay with board clears having that high of occurrence rates, because decks without board clears and decks with board clears are, extremely different in power levels most of the time. So if we are going to pump specific cards to have ridiculous occurrences in our drafts, I'm okay that a card like Blizzard is there. Explosive runes is 48%. I have noticed personally that I'm not picking explosive runes as much, so I think that's affecting that percentage quite a bit. Explosive runes is showing up in a bucket where it's heavily contested against other cards, and if you've played Arena for any decent amount of time, whenever you see a mage secret, you think it is explosive runes. So, it's not that much of a secret, and that takes away from the card. So I imagine explosive runes is showing up near Blizzard levels, but people are just not able to pick it as often because it's not up against weaker cards a lot of the time. Polymorph is very high because a lot of people are playing big sticky minions. That's rightfully so. And Bone Drake is 4th. Notably, the reason I extended it down a little bit further in terms of spots than some of the other classes I'm going to review in this video is that Flame Strike is what, like 12th or something? Let me see. Yeah, 12th. Flame Strike is 12th on the list. So Flame Strike is a lot rarer than before. 30% chance at 1 copy. Honestly, that's kind of what I expect to have Flame Strike occurrence, for the last years in Hearthstone. So what this means is that you should always play around Blizzard, but you probably should never play around Flame Strike. 30% in the deck doesn't mean 30% in the hand. If you're down through half the deck because you almost never, sometimes, but almost never keep Flame Strike in your opening hand, that means, if they have a 30% chance to have 1 copy, if they've drawn half the deck, you're looking at like 12 to 15% chance that they've drawn the Flame Strike, something like that, right? So that's really low. Right? That's low enough that you basically never play around it. So with this information, it's actually so important. At high wins, you are going to play Flame Strikes, but I would imagine until like 5, maybe 6 wins, I wouldn't even bother playing around Flame Strike. I didn't actually know that until I saw these stats. Just to give you an idea of why this whole system doesn't really work. We're at a point where we're relying on third parties to actually have a strategic advantage in the game modes that we play. So that's kind of bad, I think, but whatever. Paladin, another very popular class, 73% chance at 1.2 silver swords. Again, I need to say that a lot of people don't pick the 2nd or 3rd silver sword when it's offered. Sometimes rightfully so, but I would say rarely. Silver sword is a completely batshit broken win immediately card in Arena, which is why I urge you guys to take all weapon removal options, and honestly I urge you guys to pick at least the 2nd silver sword that you're offered. I think while 73.1% at 1 is likely, I think again it is Blizzard level. I think people are just not picking the 2nd and 3rd one, wrongfully so. Equality is very high up now. Sound the Bells has always been there. Spike Ridge Steed is there, but not quite as common as before, which is kind of interesting. And near the bottom, we see like Light Fused Stegodon and Sword of Justice. We see Dark Conviction. So many different and new follow-up cards. A lot of them deal with big minions effectively. So Paladin used to be a class that didn't have very many answers to big minions. It looks like while they don't have one besides Equality, that's like too common, they do have several, and they have several dude building cards as well. So Paladin decks are certainly going to seem a little bit different right now. Then we have Priest. Priest is doing pretty well in Arena right now. Shadow Madness at the very top, but again, it's a card you often will not pick a 2nd, and certainly not like a 3rd or 4th copy unless you have like nothing else to play in the early game. Free from Amber is still very high. Shadow Word Pain is incredibly high. Shadow Word is a little bit lower than that, so a lot of the removal options are there. They're very visible. The main one that we don't see anymore is Spirit Lash. So Spirit Lash is no longer a super common card in Arena decks. We also still do not see Psychic Scream, so you should never play around Psychic Scream when you're playing against the Priest. Again, very important information, but as far as the other removals, they're going to have them. They're going to have a lot of them. A lot of the cards we keep seeing multiple times on these lists are extremely powerful removal cards. Again. Shaman's a very interesting one. Lightning Storm comes in at nearly 80%. So literally every Shaman deck has at least one Lightning Storm on average, especially once you get north of like 3-4 wins. Extremely high chance at Hex, extremely high chance at Volcano, high chance at weapons, elemental synergies, taunts, minion generation, more taunts, more minion generation, and more minion generation through Bone Drake. So Shaman is basically the encompassing class of what's happening in Arena right now. We have card generation, minion generation, and removal. That's basically it. That's what everyone's aiming for when they're playing Arena right now. And I think this is the last one here. Yeah, this is the last one. Warlock, currently the #1 class in Arena right now. How would you guess, right? Defile is extremely high, so you should have some consideration for Defile, more so than other cards, because I feel if you play into Defile, you give them a 2-mana board clear. And a 2-mana board clear is very different than like getting Flame Strike. So even if Defile had like a lower percentage chance, the fact that Defile can remove like a really big board for 2 mana and might leave your opponent with 8 more mana to play things, it completely swings the game. So if your opponent had like a Flame Strike and then he plays like a 3-drop, that's not so bad, right? But if you get defiled out and your opponent plays like an 8-drop, it's horrible. So in the early game, it might actually be decent to bait a defile, but in the late game, you really need to do everything you can to not set up a perfect defile for your opponent. And, you know, if you've ever played Warlock with defile, what you typically want is other sorts of damage and 1 health minions to try to pump out a perfect defile potentially. That basically is what you see in the list there. Despicable Dreadlord is really high. In combination with the odd Dread Infernal, you're going to see the 1 damage pings are going to be plentiful when you're playing against Warlock. There's tons and tons of removal there, man. It's just removal, charge, and taunts. It's just this stuff. One thing that you might decipher from these statistics, but you'll certainly figure out if you just play Arena right now, is that you are being offered an insane amount of removal. It's the first time that I remember on a consistent basis that you're drafting decks and getting too few minions. So if your deck is like 50% minions and 50% removal, that might be like, oh wow, this is a really good deck. Look at that. I have 2 of these board clears, 2 of these board clears. Oh, 2 of those direct damage cards. So good, right? But then if every deck is that, you come to a point where every single thing that's being played is removed and you both go into fatigue, and the winner is basically whoever had like the 1 minion stick on the board for like 2 turns over the other. Which is really dumb. So to cut through that, my strategy lately has been overpicking minions, particularly early game ones. And in terms of picking removal, the really premium, the really effective removal in the game is the removal that can do face damage. So we're talking about like Fireball, we're talking about Starfall, we're talking about this type of stuff. Those cards are really good because a lot of games you can get a little bit of early damage if you overpick minions. And if you're up against an opponent who has like 50-50 minion removal, you can continue to stall them out yourself even if you don't have as many removal options, because they have to use their removal options ineffectively because they're behind on health because you had more minions in the early game. It also allows you to basically burn them out if you picked more burn options. And it's kind of a weird state in Arena. I'm starting to actually do very well, but the first like 3-4 days I played in this meta, I played as if there were no changes from the pre-Taverns of Time meta, and I did horribly. Like, they probably averaged like 4 wins across those 3-4 days. Now I'm getting, 10, 12, 11 wins, whatever. It's just back to business, basically. But my point is, you got to know this stuff if you are expecting anywhere decent results. And in my opinion, there should be a better transition from these changes to informing people. Let me know what you think. Today, I want to give you guys a game that very literally shows you what's happening in Arena right now. And, well, you'll get to see how I've been working things around. Enjoy the game, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Let's keep the Swift Messenger just as some kind of answer, as we'll probably need one at some point. I'll just open my packs later. Just, I don't really need any of this expansion anymore. Pack opening experience is rather tarnished in the later stages of the expansion, of any expansion, I guess. The way I open things, at least.
Neither snow nor rain nor wind.
I don't want to deal with that shit. Bless you.
Move!
It's not bad.
Rot into my core. What are you hiding?
Not sure what he's trying to do with all those 1/1s. Thing's not bad. I don't have to burn a blizzard here. Do this. Huh, seems alright.
My duty is to the king. For the king!
Arrest them!
Don't need them both to be big. We can just try to get some board control off the first one.
To Northrend! Arrest them! Victory!
For the king!
Defile time here. 2, 3. Holy shit, that's bad. Okay.
My duty is to the king! For the king! Arrest them! Victory! Arrest them! For the king! I'm drop dead gorgeous.
I will enjoy watching you die.
Not good enough, Brosif. Alright, that was good enough.
Don't rush me. Well played. Well played.
Who dares summon me?
Oh my fucking god, dude. Okay.
Our witch should never end. Our witch should never end. Our witch should never end.
Oh my god! That's unreal! Holy shit! Okay. Okay, fine.
They'll never know what hit. One shot, one.
Two arms.
Shields up!
Okay. Half his deck is Spellstone. Well, he's not going to get any more big ones at least.
That belongs in a museum.
Why do you call? You win this time.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about when I say some people have like 4 consecutive board clears. Well, it wasn't board clears that time, but it was something similar.